And good. Okay, so welcome to the Care Society podcast. I'm Jedd, co-founder, and we're joined by Tara, co-founder, and Jimmy Edwards, the Care Society founder, to talk today about the program we're offering through Care Society, and a new online education platform aiming at giving parents and children the chance to take hold of their own education and learning. Thanks for joining Jimmy and Tara.
Likewise, I am so excited. We have been preparing to be launching this global learning network for quite a while. And Jedd and Tara, as we've become quite close in this process. And I just think what we're launching and the service we're going to be able to provide to people and how we're going to be able to connect people is truly going to help revolutionize the future of learning. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, well, same to you. I think first and foremost, if we just go over quickly, what exactly is Care Society and what is being offered to parents and children through this program, in your eyes?
Yeah, sure. So the Care Society exists as a global learning network in a hybrid format. We have an online platform through Mighty Networks, which is going to help connect people directly. But we also envision this hybrid learning environment where families and students who are interested in alternative education solutions can come together not only through our online platform, but be connected in their local communities with other folks who are on the network to establish cohorts who might meet in person to do what are called learning pods, which are small groups of students who will have a mentor or a coach to be engaging in project-based learning or creating creations that are fundamentally new and valuable or useful to other people. Helping design real world solutions to real world problems through real world learning. And on our platform, we have multiple of us co-founders who are not only engaging these students and families to provide mentoring and coaching, but we also have courses of what you would sort of traditionally expect, and really like a large and hopefully even more growing community where we can all learn together. We'll have live events. We'll have spaces that are organized by different topics and interests. So if we have several teens who are interested in artificial intelligence or literature or music, that we can all be gathering to be having discussions, to collaborate on projects, to for students to create their own clubs, to be leading the Care Society as well. A big part of what we believe in is empowering students to become self-directed and really ready for the real world. So what we're creating is not just a bunch of like adults like telling young people what to do. It's really helping students and their families take ownership of their learning. So we're going to be supporting almost as like co-pilots so that students can really take charge, take leadership, and really pursue their own interests and develop their own passions and help meet people's needs and their own needs.
Definitely sounds needed. For context, I know Tara was homeschooled largely, and I was more in traditional education, and we kind of found the lacking in both aspects, where the Tara's was a lack of structure, where it was totally freewheeled. There's no co-pilot, so it's difficult to even get your education moving as a child. And mine was the opposite, where there's so much structure and overbearingness, and you're being told what to do constantly, that the instant you leave education and that structure's gone, you aren't ready for the real world. And that's been a real problem I've seen in a lot of people. So I think what Care Society is trying to do is thread that needle. And I think one of the big things that drew me into it in particular was the project-based learning, where the philosophy seems to be to make the process of learning itself fun. You're not getting these kids who are just totally tuned out in the classroom. Why am I learning this? This isn't useful. I don't care about it. I'm just going to get through it as I can, then go home and play games. I think it's about making them want to learn and then want to be engaged in a community that will build social skills as well as their own education through that engagement. So I think that's a really big thing for a Care Society that promises that performs well as well, just in terms of getting people, as we said, to take hold of their education and be more committed to learning new things.
Absolutely. And I can also add, Jedd, that we've been piloting these project-based learning and learning pod models of education for quite some time now. And it's been absolutely incredible where we've had students and their families who have really not been served very well and not had great experiences in their traditional educational settings. And we've just had students, even students with disabilities, students who haven't been challenged enough in traditional settings, where they've just been bored, or maybe they haven't had great social experiences. And when they've been empowered to be supported through their own goals, and to really like help people and serve people through their projects, even with video, with designing video games, with creating service volunteer projects, with learning real practical skills and helping teach people. I mean, it's just it's so amazing to see time and time again how when students actually have choice and agency of what and how to learn, and we're actually building them up and scaffolding to those real world skills, they just absolutely fly every single time. And it's so hopeful for me, and just so indicative of where the future of learning is heading.
Yeah, it does seem obvious that there would be a problem with a one size fits all philosophy to education that traditional education seems to have, where it's like, oh, this kid's just not academic. It's like, well, your job is to teach the kid to learn, so that's your failure if the kid is struggling. And the fact that you can't adapt might be a bit more indicative of a larger problem in education. On that, though, you've worked in education for a good while and you've done research papers within education and how it operates. What would you say are the current problems with, we'll focus on traditional education and then move into homeschool? And like, so what were the main problems you noticed, and how do you feel like our care society is going to address these specific problems, whether that is just to firm up the thing, whether there is boredom, whether there is kids who are struggling with traditional models, whether that is just not being ready in specific, like what would you feel you're addressing and what problems are the big ones for you?
Yes. I've been teaching, and not only teaching, but as an instructional coach and as an administrator for different types of learning programs in public, private, US, international, alternative, and even homeschooling types of settings. And when I first started teaching in public school, um, basically what happens in terms of curriculum instruction and assessment, which is really like kind of what's near and dear to my heart, because I was in a doctoral program in curriculum instruction at the University of Virginia, um, is that we require young people to go to school, compulsory attendance, which is like okay, but then they're forced to learn government created standards that really weren't necessarily designed for anyone in the schools that I've been working at. Um, and so, we've basically played this game where we just need to more effectively stamp out people with this kind of like, pretty language profile of a graduate that really just involves a bunch of standardized testing. And this has sort of stemmed, as many of us now know, who've been really following education in any way in the past several years, that our entire public school model was sort of founded on this idea that our public schools, particularly at high school, but then it sort of trickled down from there, should follow a university sort of Prussian model where you go from class to class in this factory model where we just need to better produce these basically morally good and well-rounded people, but with these standards and curricula that, again, weren't chosen by anyone who's in the system. And there are so many deep problems with that. It's not only about standards and curriculum, it's about assessment as well. This is very important. We have mostly for profit, multi billion dollar companies who design our standardized assessments and who are basically in control of how students are assessed. And there's very little transparency in any of this. So we're just we are pressurizing and fortifying the system where teachers need to continually, unfortunately, teach to the test by and large. And of course, there are wonderful teachers and people who are in the system. There are students who care. There are families. There's a lot of people who are all trying. But fundamentally, when we're all in this direction and assessed by these outside entities where there's no real authentic collaboration or collective ownership. We just try harder to like play the system, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And we see young people and teachers who are so disillusioned that, particularly since COVID, students don't want to come to school. Chronic absenteeism has been on the rise. Mental health issues have been on the rise, and there's many reasons for that. It is very complex. Teachers are leaving in droves. Administrators are leaving in droves. We're creating new even licensure programs to try to get teachers, more people into schools, but we just can't keep supplying enough teachers even. And it's because people don't want to be stuck in that system anymore. And it really comes down to issues of curriculum instruction and assessment, in my opinion. And it comes with young people, families need choice and agency and ownership of what is learned, how assessment happens, and we all need to work together in that. It shouldn't be we're just like waiting for someone to tell us what to do. In my opinion, we should be exercising our freedom and agency with care, doing collaborative, rigorous learning together. And we can do that in the Care Society.
Yeah. I think one thing that you've touched on there is the use of just buzzwords or anything else within education. We can talk about like empowering kids, which I'm sure every traditional school would also say they do. You'll say empowering kids, you'll say, oh, we're inclusive. We make sure to bring out the best of every kid. But unless it's actionable and you're not putting it into practice, it is just a matter of fluff. So I think that's what the Care Society is hopefully aiming to do, where we're acting on these principles. To that end, you've got the Care Learning Framework, the 7 C's and domains of education. Could you just outline quickly this type of philosophy that you have in terms of the culture you want to bring to Care Society and how each one will be actionable within the Care Learning Framework?
Absolutely. So I have been very excitedly conducting quite a bit of research through my doctoral program. I was initially back in 2019. I sort of had this intuition that there really is like almost a secret sauce of teaching and learning, and even just like living and learning better together. Like I've just loved teaching my whole life. I was a camp counselor at a summer enrichment program at the University of Virginia. I was just super involved at my first public high school that I taught at. I was the musical theater director. I did all of the club sponsorships and all those things. Just love everything that I do. Um, and so there did seem to be this idea that one, like having trusting relationships with the people around you is very important. Like really meeting people where they're at and scaffolding learning so that every student can basically be supported and be in their zone of proximal development. And then having assessment methods as well that are tailored to the abilities and needs of every student. And some of that initial like intuition has become a big part of how I teach. And that particular aspect, what I'm describing, is what I now call the zone of rigorous learning. We want everyone to kind of be in the zone, not only at the individual level, but at the organizational level. So building off of some of that intuition, back in 2022 and 2023, I conducted this multi-month, about 1,000-person research project to try to have some collective ownership and almost consensus through a participatory research design to well articulate a collaborative model that is universal across all of these participants. The result was these shared core values that kind of is a through line of how to live and learn better together based on trust, support, ownership, synergy, and celebration, and very clear subconcepts to kind of break down what each of those mean. That kind of makes a process of how to collaborate better. So putting those two pieces together and the concept of learning itself, which in my opinion, the way we learn is through our experience. There's a lot of theory around this, basically that learning is a process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. And putting all of that together, one of the big parts of the care learning framework, or how we can learn together, is called collaborative, rigorous learning when you put those three concepts together. And this basically starts to articulate what we all sort of agree on, not only through science and research, but also through socially constructed values of collaboration, like I was describing, as really the through line, or what we all agree on is how to learn. So that idea of collaborative rigorous learning is the method of the CARE learning framework. What I've been really excited about since then, since 2023, is the second part of the CARE learning framework, which is a lot of what we as co-founders and our several students and many friends and colleagues over the past 2 years that we've been working together have developed. It's more about the what of universal learning that's really going to prepare students at scale for the future of learning in our highly rapidly changing environments. I'm kind of playing around with a brand for this what of learning, probably called the CARE Compass versus the CARE Method, and it's a simple but organized set of domains and enduring concepts that describe what is very important for everyone to learn today and through the future. So that is indicative of a profile of a graduate that we all can agree on, which, by the way, are based on these 5 essential domains of learning, starting with emotional intelligence. That's a big part of the framework, that regardless of what we learn, math, science, music, literature, that emotional intelligence really everyone needs command of in order to thrive in this highly evolving world. Creative intelligence or creativity, also scholarship, the idea that research is important, being exposed to new ideas, having objectively defensible knowledge that you can weave throughout your creative designs. The other 2 domains of these 5 essential domains are technology and practical skills. So those 5 domains really house the what of learning that we all in our work together have agreed on, that this is what learning should be. And what is really interesting too is that our traditional models really only focus on the concept of scholarship, but they sort of fundamentally leave out emotional intelligence and creative intelligence. Even though we have social emotional learning programs, we have art and music classes that do kind of bring out creativity, but the relationship of like emotional intelligence, then creative intelligence, and then scholarship, and that like the heart of learning, even emotional intelligence, being emphasized as the driver of learning and memory and knowledge, that's not really how our current standards are fundamentally set up. And it's kind of our position in the CARE learning framework that we really need to emphasize those domains. The final part of the CARE learning framework, particularly in this CARE compass, or the what of learning, involves some shared enduring concepts that kind of are representative of our shared values. We call this the 7 C's. And those are curiosity, compassion, collaboration, critical thinking, creative thinking, communication, and citizenship. And those 2 concepts in the CARE compass, or the what of learning that we all agree on, of the 5 essential domains and these 7 C's, or these enduring concepts, really provide not only a through line, but kind of like sort of an obvious set of concepts or big ideas of what to learn, which then we can organize standards, a profile of a graduate, and those kind of things. So that is a description of what the CARE learning framework is all about. What we agree is important to learn, and how we all agree we can live and learn better together.
Yeah. I would say it stands out as well of why it is traditional educations can't accomplish this, where it's like you're judging it's a very personalized approach to each student, where their interests are fueling their projects. They're finding out basically who they are, what they're interested in, how they want to operate within the world, and how to excel in that. If their education isn't personalized in a traditional sense, the teachers are never really knowing the students. All they can see the students as, for the most part, is the number they're getting on their homework or exams. That makes it quite hard to even like assess each student's needs if you don't really know each student personally and you can't connect to them. So I think that's another reason why Care Society will have the edge over traditional education, where we're co-pilots, but we also will learn to understand and know each student. If they're struggling, we'll spot it. We know what they're interested in. We can communicate better to them, and we can find a way to educate that is actually tailored to them, not just to a number on a piece of paper, which will be a very big help. I haven't meant to leave you out too much, Tara. We can shift focus to, because obviously one thing is traditional education, but people also are concerned about taking kids out of traditional education and whether they know enough to homeschool, whether there's complications. There's a usual stereotype of homeschool kids, maybe they're a little under socialized. Tara, your experience with homeschooling, and was there any kind of complications that you think care education can avoid because of that? Like any problems within homeschooling that care education will address in itself?
I think what I experienced the most in homeschooling was the rather stereotypical factor that you just mentioned, which is the lack of social interaction. Like, sure, you will have your local homeschooling families, and you all tend to congregate to learn together or have like play dates together. But generally, when you sit down to be educated, your parents tend to go for like, oh well, what are schools doing? We should get you school books, and you can go and finish that school book yourself in the corner of the room. I think what Care Society will be addressing is that nobody will be made to go and do coursework on their own in the corner of a room. Like, we will be learning together, and it's all based in clubs and group classes. Like, there might be individual tutoring if somebody particularly wants that level of help with something, but overall it's like you aren't going to be on your own ever.
Yeah, so it would seem the two big problems are the social aspect of homeschooling, which Care Society as a society is aiming to address through communal engagement. And I'd not thought about that before, as kind of homeschooling still measuring itself by traditional education means. So you're still doing the same works, measuring your education the same way, except you're doing it in a corner by yourself. Even
all of them do, but it does tend to be what parents panic and go to as like the only thing that they can think of.
Yeah, you're still using the traditional education framework just by themselves almost. So yeah, those would be two problems that Care Society now does dodge quite well then. For the rest of the focus, I think we should focus on a new person is interested in Care Society. What can they expect to, what services and what can they expect to find once they've joined? I know we begin with a orientation, which will kind of go through the project-based learning system of values, the 7Cs, just to get everyone kind of understanding how we operate. But once they're in, what would you like them to know about what they can expect and how we would handle theirs and their children's education? Because it's not just for children's classes and clubs, to be clear. The Care Society also offers education for parents and how to operate their own whether it be learning pods or classes for their homeschooling their kids, or just even just how to operate within this system. There are classes for that as well. Is there anything else you'd like them to know?
Yeah, 100%. So ultimately, the Care Society is not technically a school. So it's not something that parents just kind of like send their teens, for example, to kind of go do somewhere. We are a membership learning network. And so we have different tiers and of membership and different types of services that parents can have sort of the options to purchase a la carte and lots and lots of freedom of how not only students can be supported through mentors, coaches, educators, and other students around the world, but also how parents can be supported in their alternative education journeys. So our sort of our base membership, which is going to be very low cost, like less than $100 a month, like, and we're still kind of fine tuning this price, probably about $50 a month, which will, if you have a teen who wants to be completely self-directed as a homeschooled student, or even someone in a traditional school and just wants to be a part of a great online learning community where we all care about each other, where we are going to support each other, build trusting relationships, and connect. That is a great service already that is going to be very valuable. Even with that base membership, we're going to have lots of live events where we also have a core founder supported set of learning clubs. As you two know, we have about can't remember the exact number, about 12 to 15 like core clubs. That's the big meat and potatoes of the Care Society. So, for example, if you're if your teen is interested in media studies, for example, like movies, shows, literature, anything in that realm, we'll have a founder involved club related to that, where students themselves can also take on leadership roles and lead our official core features or spaces of our learning platform. And so that there will be, like, many people in these online learning communities that will be supporting each other through projects, engaging each other in discussions. There are courses within these spaces, so that if you are interested in sort of taking more formal chunks of learning that are supported with real people, then we'll have those available as well. So those are some options of membership. The additional thing that we offer are learning pods. So if you are a homeschooling family, or even someone in the traditional school who would like to have a certified educator coach work with you in small groups of maybe like 4 to 6 other students who meet for about an hour a school day, and are working on self-directed projects together and supporting each other, demonstrating their learning in the real world, and having a process where those projects are created. That is also a service that we offer. But that is not a requirement in the Care Society. We ultimately believe in freedom and personalized learning, and we want to basically, everyone in the Care Society is going to choose to care for each other, about themselves, about learning. And we just think that that's like a great, thriving idea where people can just have all of their needs met. And also the parents as well will be supported in designing their alternative educational solution for their children.
Yeah. I think it's important to notice as well that the environment that we produce will also be a form of like passive education. I think kids habituate to their environment. So if we've got a situation like traditional education where all that matters is the score you get at the end, kids will develop any method possible to their education. As long as you get the score, it doesn't matter how you got there. If we're promoting a culture where it does promote engagement, it does promote socializing, and it does promote that kind of confidence in your own learning, even outside of the topics you are being educated in, you are building these life skills, whether it's social skills, confidence. Even if when you go to university on a Zoom call over COVID, most people are scared to turn the cameras on. These people aren't ready for the real world. And it's not like you need a class in that. It's providing a culture that builds people up to the point where they want to be engaged and demonstrate these skills. So I think even that parents would be quite overjoyed to see their kid thriving with.
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, because we're empowering students to take ownership of their learning and help lead whatever they want to within the Care Society network. It's really something where if there is any creative idea that can add value to people and help people, we want to empower students to enact their vision and make it become a reality. And we'll support them with our time. We'll help organize things. We have curated resources. We have, structured learning opportunities and those things, but also that parents on our online learning platform or network who have children who are younger than teens, because there are some laws and legislation around these. Those parents can be supporting their young learners through our platform as well. And not only that, we, as you were mentioning before, Jedd, we encourage parents as well to be involved in helping lead learning pods, even launching their own micro schools should they want to, and being involved in the Care Society, even to the point where we can help train them to become an educator. That's one of the other services that I am providing through not only the Care Society, but through a consulting firm called Care Education, where we'll be helping train and prepare not only adults actually, but even young people to become teachers. And so if there is a parent who's interested in leading learning, and you would like to become certified as an educator within our network to be then providing services wherever you are in the world, we look forward to a future where many people have the skills to live, learn, and teach better together. And that's what we stand for.
Excellent, honestly. So is there any places, if people were interested in this type of thing, where should they go first? Like, what would they have to get on? Any notification lists, any email lists, or where can they find more information about the Care Society?
Yes, absolutely. So we do have a website. It's called carerevolution.org, and we'll have links to that. But we would like folks to complete an interest form, and we're also going to be having live events for things like info sessions, getting to know people who are interested. On our Mighty network, the Care Society will have like visitor spaces where folks who are still kind of like, oh, what's this all about, so that you can kind of get to learn the platform. We would love for folks to go to carerevolution.org, fill out an interest form so that we can know who to send the information to, because the Mighty network is a closed space. It's like invite only, because we are very much about safety. We're very much about ethical privacy and data use. So because there are families who are leading their educational services, we do want to direct people to the website so that we can connect with you there, and then invite you to our visitor spaces, and then an orientation process to see if this is a good fit for your family, and then off to the races.
Do you have a vision? I know it's still early days with Care Society. What would you say your overall vision for the future and impact you would like Care Society to have as we build up and get more customers and kind of expand out from there? What is the kind of the end goal, I would say?
Well, one is a mindset shift about how young people or anyone learns. If you are 18 years old and let's say you've graduated from high school and you're not in college, you can just kind of like help people, maybe launch a business. You can write a music album. You can learn a trade and then help people through your trade and earn income. That's just how the world works. You can also get a job if you want to. But let's say you just turned 18 years old. The day before that, when you were 17 years and 364 days old, you didn't really change very much. You can still create novel and valuable things and help people. And 17-year-olds or even 10-year-olds can teach people, can research and learn things. We have vast resources on the internet. We don't have to wait for people to tell us what to do and what to learn as free people. Even, for example, 98% of 5-year-olds are classified as geniuses. We play, We learn through our experience. We look around. We empathize with people. We are social collaborators and creators as humans. And we've unfortunately been sort of trained and conditioned that the way learning works is that someone with authority tells us what's good, and we like wait to be told the what and the how of learning. But young people in particular, I mean, if you've even seen there are sort of movies about this, like Ender's Game, for example, where we realize like the young people have a lot of wisdom and a lot of power. And so we want to lift young people up, because when it comes down to it, like they are the future. I mean, and fortunately as well, Jedd and Tara, like we are also not very old. And so we are really trying to envision a fundamental mindset shift to how real learning actually works. And it involves, we need to unlearn the idea that we need to stamp people out from someone else's standards. We know what's important to learn.
Yeah.
We look around, we see the needs of the world. We also need help understanding from other people's wisdom, but young people shouldn't just be like waiting around and like, oh, I don't know what to do. I can't do anything. And no, yes, we can. We can do it. And we want to ignite those passions and those interests from everyone in our community, not even just young people. We're learning every day.
Yeah. Well, it's as you said, the education system as a present is answerable to people we don't even know really, who aren't involved in it, who don't understand what it's like on the ground level. We can't expect them to even see the issues properly. Well, I think me and Tara, can't speak for yourself, came out of the education system and had that exact kind of like, now what? We're not trained for any kind of adult life, especially when what is adult life changes so fast as technology advances. I was getting trained with floppy disks, and then the next year it was like, oh, those years useless, don't worry about it. But it doesn't catch up. So I think looking back, I would like to help people avoid this system where once you are an adult and you feel like your education was more of a bus ride to somewhere you don't even get to pick, and all of a sudden you're let off in the middle of nowhere. I think we would like to view Care Society as a guide where the kid knows what they're interested in, they're finding out what their passions are, and that we're just there to help them structure their passions in a way that gets them to where they want to go. Because you're right, people now do have access to all this information. If they wanted to start a business, if they wanted to investigate something, they could. But I think we've failed so spectacularly in educating people how to learn in itself. They could have all the tools available to them and still not know what to do with them. And I think that's what the niche we're trying to fill, which I think is going to bear some good fruit. I'm already quite excited. I can't think of much else to ask. Is there anything you'd like to add, Tara, or anything you'd like to clarify?
Well, just to add on to exactly what you just said, it's like the other week we're having some housing difficulties at the minute because I am coming to the end of university. So I graduated, and we're having difficulties finding disability appropriate housing to go into after university. And somebody told you from the local council, I think, that I should have planned better, knowing I was disabled before I came into university. And then I should have planned what I would do when I finished university. And it's like, at that time, I was new to being disabled. And it's been very much the experience that while I have been at university, I've had friendships with the tutors, and it's been a very good experience for me. But now that I've graduated, everyone has backed away. Like, there is no support, there is no continued friendship. I'm just meant to know what to do and have planned for that, even though I didn't know what to do. They didn't.
Yeah, planning for answers you didn't even know there was questions to in the first place.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and like clearly you don't want your educational experience to not be like how the real world works. And I think we really need to get out of the mindset of the why of learning and education. It is not to get a fake validation like a piece of paper. Unfortunately, the what I've learned, and I am pro education, pro learning. I've been a product of public schools. I have many advanced degrees. I have a terminal degree in curriculum and instruction. I value higher education, and now my work is what's valuable, and how I serve people and the relationships that we have. And like the validity of learning comes from the creations themselves and the trust that we have with people and our behaviors and our actions. And the reason I'm describing this is because there's a lot of concern from many parents that we've worked with, and it's like, oh well, we're really concerned about getting into college, for example, or how things will look to people. And when you see the products of project-based learning and real-world learning, what we do is that we actually invert standards. We cover through these well-designed personalized learning journeys that can take you and your family through many years of all of these projects and formal coursework as well, to help design a very rich portfolio that demonstrates learning of whatever you are interested in learning about. Because folks in different states and different families and different learners are interested in learning different things. And so if you have a goal that is aligned with, let's say you just know you want to go to university, we can design a program for that. But if you're not really sure, but maybe you think like university or even a different type of program is great for you, then we can help you design that. But again, we also want to like fundamentally understand as a care society and as a world, like, why even do learning? Why do education? Is it just because we have a feeling we might need to get validation from someone through pieces of paper or something at some point, and therefore we're very scared? Or can we realize how learning works in the real world and scaffold that through real world learning experiences right now?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It feels like education now has almost been memeified to the point where the credential was shorthand as proof that you have these practical skills.
Mhm.
But now it's about the credential, not the practical skills that the credential is meant to be referencing towards. And I think it's ended up building these walls between education and the real world, where the point of education now is to excel within education and then get that done with. And then the real world is a separate entity. I think Care Society's framework will help, as you said. Education and the real world aren't separate worlds. Education is the scaffolding that then leads you into it. And I think as long as we have that focus on the practicality of what we're teaching and how we can adapt that to each student's own like kind of goals, I think we'll do a lot better on that front.
Absolutely. And it's amazing what young people can do, Jedd, as we've seen time and time again. I mean, there are students that we've worked with that are just creating and coding and robotics, and writing and publishing books, starting businesses, and also just helping people. Like this is a huge part of what we need to, I think, learn at scale. Is like, if you're a young person, you could just start helping people learn. Like it's really beautiful. Like, be curious and compassionate, collaborate, be supportive to people, really have a deep, genuine relationship, show you care. And that is a recipe for success.
Well, I think a lot of kids are also very excited to do these things. It's just they haven't had the framework and opportunity to bring their kind of passion into the education. So I know you've had some students who maybe they seemed a little more reserved, more reluctant to get involved. But then once you tailor it to, oh, what are they actually interested in? Because are they scared, or are they just bored and uninterested in the topic, and the methods we're providing aren't suitable for them? But then they flourish the moment you've got like a tailored thing. They're so excited to learn. I think kids are desperate for that kind of like education. They know why they're learning. They're interested in the process of learning. And I think once all those pieces come together, the sky's the limit. I think it's just how we prepare that for them.
For sure, for sure. And if anyone does want to learn in any kind of traditional formats, like I'm a highly successful math teacher with master's degree in math education. If you want to study for the SAT, we will help you do that. If you want to learn specific content like about history or learning a language, we will help you do that. We have certified educators. We have a lot of knowledge on our side, and the folks who come on board are going to help fuel that every step of the way.
Yeah, flexibility and personalization, definitely two very big strengths. I think that's largely it then. I think we've covered most topics. If there's anything else you'd like to add, Jimmy, any closing notes or kind of any information you'd like to also share?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is that we invite people to come join us and kind of see what we're all about. It's something that we're building together. We've been preparing for this for quite some time, but we also want families and young people to like be part of the movement that we call the care revolution. Like that's really what we're about. Like we envision a more caring world where people are continuously living and learning better together. We're going to be modeling it every step of the way. It's not always going to be easy, but discomfort is a fact of life. Challenge is a good thing, and so we want folks to be absolutely welcome to join us on this journey, get a little taste, and let's have a ton of fun.
And let's all learn by doing together.
Learn by doing. There you go.
That's awesome. I think we've covered everything. I look forward to the next episode when we can hopefully provide more information on the dates Care Society will be up and running and available. Obviously, you can find emails and notifications now if you are interested and want to be alerted to when more developments are out. But look forward to the next episode. Thanks, Jimmy and Tara. I'll see you next time.
Thank you, Jedd.
Tara, you might have to end the recording, I think, or whoever's running it.